So we've seen how to get information, and we've seen how to update information. If you refer to the earlier videos for details on that. The next thing that we want to be able to do is to be able to create new information. So I want to be able to create a new customer record, say here in accounts. Now that's very similar to the put request that we saw earlier. So what we'll do is we'll create a new instance of a trading account feed entry. We're going to call it account. And with this, we're just going to prompt the user, give it to set a name for us. So we'll just say console.name. Account name, and then we'll just say account.name equals read line. So we're just literally taking the entry straight from the command line as entered by the user. Now, one thing that you have to be aware of when creating new resources that you don't normally have to be aware of when for other request types is that there may be certain properties which are mandatory. Now those properties will be exposed in the schema, though as such they will have the SME is mandatory attribute set on them. For full details on the schema, if you refer to the SData.com website, that will give you the full rundown on all of the different attribute types, including the mandatory attribute as well. Here I happen to know that there is only one mandatory attribute, so I'm just going to set it here hard coded, but typically in a real world situation you would go off to the metadata to discover this, and you'll actually find if you go and look at the boilerplate code that was generated for us way back at the start and looked in the trading account feed entry type, and if we looked at in this case the customer supplier flag, which is the only mandatory field, you would see that the metadata on there tells you that it is a mandatory field and must be stipulated. So in this case, accounts 50 cannot create the trading account unless we tell it it's a customer or a supplier. So if I just say it's going to be a customer, and that's all there is to it. We've got all the information that we want to persist. There was only the one mandatory field. That may differ depending on the provider, so you should always go to the schema and double check exactly what the provider is expecting of you. So now that we've got our trading account ready to be saved, let's just generate a save. So for this we'll create a new SData URI. We'll call that URI. New SData URI, and again we're just going to call the helper method on here, the build local path. So we're going to be talking to accounts 50. Within there it's the GCRM contract, the default data set, and it's the trading accounts feed that we'll be dealing with. We'll then create an SData request. We'll call that request. The first parameter is always the URI, and then as we saw with the put request, because we're actually saving information here, we need to give the instance of what's being saved, so we'll just pass in the instance of the account, and then the request verb, which is a post, which is a create. So then we'll set the username and password again, and as I keep saying, we've not normally hard code these sorts of things in, but fine for demo purposes, so it's just request.username equals manager and request.password equals an empty string. and then we'll send the request. So it's just request.send, and that's it. That's been submitted to the feeds that will have saved into account. So again, as you'll have seen in the other examples, we'll just do a very simple test here. Just seeing, is the status valid for verb? If it is, we'll just output a message. It's successful. Whoops. So, otherwise it failed. And I'll just put a little pause in here. Okay. So we'll just build and run that. So we'll get a prompt for a new name. We'll just call it my new account. And press return. Great success, so that's pushed it through. If we go across now to say 50 accounts, we were creating a customer. So if I just go into the customer list and force a refresh in there, we can see it there. There's the new account that I've created, just like any other account. Obviously, it has very minimal details on because we didn't provide much. Obviously, we could have given it contact details. I couldn't have given it. Could have given it the registered address, email, so on and so forth. All of the information which is supported by the adapter, by this account 50 adapter. As I say there, that was a very basic amount of information that we showed. So that's creations. Again, very simple. Again, just a handful of lines of code to do it. Everything here that you've seen will work on any other resource kind. It's literally, the difference is with the trading account feed entry. That would just be invoice feed entry, a sales invoice feed entry. It could be a purchase order feed entry, so on and so forth. There's anything which is supported by the adapter. All of those types were generated as boilerplate code. We didn't have to worry about it, and we just had to write a handful of lines of code to do our particular requested operation. It's all very similar code that as you'll have seen if you followed through the examples.